Hey homeschool friends, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to a video where I talk about the Sonlight Homeschool Planner. Now, I've been using this planner for over a year and I've really enjoyed it. And so I want to take some time to review it a bit, to give you some pros and some cons, all my thoughts from having used it for a year, as well as I want to show you kind of my current setup and how I'm using it, some things I've changed and all of that. I just want to kind of deep dive into the Sonlight Homeschool Planner, and I want to take you guys with me. So hi, my name is Angie. Welcome to the channel, or welcome back to the channel. So like I said, we're talking all things Sonlight Homeschool Planner today. And this will be the first video in a bit of a series, a loosely organized series where I talk about homeschool planning. So I'm going to start with my physical planner, my kind of paper planner, my homeschool planner, as well as the second video will be on how I use Notion, the note-taking app, to talk more kind of bigger picture and things like that. I will discuss that in the next video, as well as do kind of a weekly plan with me so I can show you inside how exactly I set up my Sonlight planners. But before I get too far, I do want to have the quick disclaimer that Sonlight did gift me this planner in return for my honest review, which is really what you're getting in this video. So thank you, Sonlight, and let's hop into my thoughts on the planner. All right, so I want to start with just pros and cons. There's a lot more pros than cons, just to warn you. But that probably makes sense because I chose to use the planner again. So obviously I like it, and obviously it really works for me. So I want to start with what I like about it. So the first thing is that it's undated. I like the fact that if I couldn't use it this year, I could potentially use it next year. It's not like a use it or lose it dated planner. It's undated. I just think there's a lot of flexibility there. So I definitely think that's a pro. It's not a big deal on my list, but it's a pro. The next one, though, I would say is a bigger deal on my list, and that is that it's 3-hole punched. So you might think that is a bit strange for me to have that so high up on my pro list, but it's not, especially as a Sonlight homeschool mom. Having a planner that is 3-hole punched makes a huge difference because most planners are coil bound, right? All 12 months come in this big planner and they're beautiful. I love a lot of different types of planners, and I feel like I look at them and I'm like, oh, I should get that. I'm like, no. The thing about the Sonlight planner that makes it so amazing is it is easy to use. Like, I'm able to take a month or two out of my planner. Like, I'm able to take the month of January out of my stack of planner sheets here, and I'm able to put it in my working binder. And that is really how I handle my Sonlight curriculum, is I have a working binder, which I will show you at the end of this video. So stay tuned for that, because I'll show you kind of how I set up both my instructor guides with my planner sheets, all the things, because it keeps it all together. And that way, as I'm going throughout my day, I'm carrying both my instructions as well as my plan. And I'm not like having to carry all these things or look at different things. And so for me, it's perfect. It's perfect for the day-to-day planning. It's perfect for like, what lesson are we on? Things like that. I just love it. And the fact that it's 3-hole punched makes it perfect for how I do homeschool. And so that's probably my biggest pro, honestly, because it really makes my life easy. So 3-hole punched, I like that. Next pro is that it's very straightforward. There's just not a ton of upfront material for planning. While I like that stuff, while I like having kind of those sheets to think through stuff, sometimes, and especially lately, I find it actually easier not to have that stuff because it can be a bit overwhelming. And Sonlight's homeschool planner is very straightforward. It does include a few extra fun things, which I'll share with you in just a second, but it's really straightforward. It's mostly just write down your plans for the week, what lessons, things like that, which again, I will show you inside the planner when I look at kind of my working binder. Another pro, I think it's pretty. I really enjoy just kind of how they designed it. I think it's pleasing to look at. It's not overly colorful, but it's not just too stripped down either. It's kind of a happy medium, at least for me, in my opinion, on what I want from my planner. But I also like that it has quotes on it. So these front pages, like this says January, it's hard to see, but it says January, but it always has a quote, and it's a quote from one of the books. This is from the Screw Tape Letters, and it's Literature 230. So I don't know, it's just kind of fun to see some of the books that are coming, or even some of the books we've read, if it was like a HBLB quote or something like that. That's just kind of fun for me. I enjoy that. It's a small thing, but I enjoy it. The next thing that I find really useful in the planner is the reflection section, and it's at the very end of every month. I find this very useful. Usually I kind of split these boxes in half because I have 4 kids, but it's a nice place for me to just reflect on how the month went. And it is across the board. It's not just my Sonlight stuff by any means. It's like, how's math going? How is language arts going? How are we doing? Sometimes big picture wise, other times very specific per child academic goals. I just really enjoy reflecting on the month. And so I often use this page, and it really helps me set the stage for kind of the next month, where at the very beginning of every month, it's goals and what's going on and things like that. Those two things really tie together for me. I tend to do those at the same time. And the next thing is some of those kind of extra fun things, which I like that Sonlight added on here. And that is like meal planning, chore list, where it can just really support your life. It can support the fact that yes, I still have to do chores, I still have to take care of my house, I still have to grocery shop, and this just gives me a spot to do it. And again, it's kind of all in one. I use the grocery section because it's a perfect size for what I need. I don't use the chores as much because we have a different system for that, which I have a video about that above. But I like using my Sonlight planner for that. But if you didn't, you could easily take it out. Again, the fact that it's 3 hole punched makes such a difference. So if I don't want those sheets, I just don't use those sheets. It's not like I have to rip them out or change my planner or anything like that. I just don't put those in my working binder. So I like that. And then the last thing that is a pro on my list is that there are extra sheets for downloading. So you'll see when we go through my binder is I had to download a couple extra sheets because I have 4 kids, not 2 kids. And there's kind of this main course of study type sheet at the very beginning that you get to list the curriculum for each child and kind of what you're working on, things like that. And I was able to go to my downloads on the Sonlight website, and I could print off extra planner sheets. I also was able to print off an attendance sheet that I like better, that's all in one, and it's perfect for me when I want to save it for my records, which I have to save attendance for my records. So having it on one sheet is easy to move it then to kind of my long-term records keeping binder. And so there's other options, and so it's really worth looking on your account on Sonlight as to some of those extra downloads. So those are some of the things that I really have enjoyed and really liked about the planner. And now when it came to cons, I feel like I had a tougher time coming up with something because really this planner met my needs, especially as a Sonlight homeschool mom. It was definitely designed by Sonlighters. Really the only thing I had on here that I wish they had an extra sheet for, or at least maybe a column within the curriculum page, is I like to track how many lessons there are in each of the different programs I use, because that helps me see how fast we have to move through the curriculum, or even kind of where we should be midway. Because I tend to shoot for getting the first 18 weeks done before Christmas, the second 18 weeks done after Christmas. So I'd like to know if by 18 weeks we should be at this lesson in math, at this lesson in spelling, or whatever it is. I like to know that, and I wish there was just a really easy, tangible sheet to put there. Granted, I could make my own. Like I said, this is a hole punched system. I could just put it in there, but that's probably the only sheet I would have liked, is something I can keep track of those things, because although keeping track of my Sonlight is easy because it's based on weeks, the rest of it's a little harder, as to like some have 144 lessons, some have 170 lessons, if you know what I mean. So that's probably my only con, and I feel like I could probably make that work myself. But I would love to have that be part of the Sonlight planner. So that's a little bit about my review of having used it and why it works really well for us. Now I'm going to take you into kind of a top-down where we look at my current 2023-2024 homeschool planner setup. So here is my working binder. It is just a 5-star Flex notebook. I really like the Flex notebooks mostly because I can clip it in and out really easily, and then it folds back, and so it's kind of easy to utilize. I find them useful. And then my son actually made me a cover for it because he knows how much I love books. So the first thing I tend to have in my working binder is just a list of all the scope and sequences for all the programs we're doing. Now these are available on Sonlight's website. The first 3 weeks of every program plus the scope and sequences are available for download. So feel free to do that if you're interested. But I always include those just because I like to see kind of what the plan is. I also do include a couple pages of all our book lists, Those are not online, so I will not show you those today, but I find them very useful because I like to see what books we're reading in what weeks, and it helps me plan out audiobooks and things like that. So then I do have this download. So I told you I printed off this one. It's a different attendance sheet. I like it. It's all year long. I only need it for my 2 big kids. And then it gets into kind of the beginning pages of the planner. So these are more of your yearly planning pages. And the first being your year at a glance, which I love this. I'm going to zoom in a bit. So why I love the year at a glance is because it helps me map out my weeks, my Sonlight weeks, and it helps me see when I'm going to take vacation. It helps me see when Thanksgiving falls, things like that. So I can see that like I intended to start, which I did. I started July 21st. We are currently in this week, finishing up this week 1 at the end of July. And so I like it. I like how it allows me to set things up here. It allows me to plan my monthly planning days. So here every month I have a planning day that I get to go and just kind of set up the next month. And I have lots of notes for myself. So I really like this year at a glance spread. And then it goes into the curriculum plan. And I just X'd out my kids' names and the name of their enrichment school just for a little bit of privacy. And so I really like this page. This is probably one of my favorite pages of the planner, is it allows you to kind of write out the plan for them. And it includes like Bible, history, literature, readers, math, science, language arts, all the way down. So you get to make notes of what you're using and what other programs you're using other than just like maybe like HBLC, C, you know, and so it allows you to kind of do that. And then, like I said, I printed off some of the other ones from the website and to include my 2 kindergartners and their plan. So I have all of this, and these lists also tend to go into my long-term records binder. And then there's also the field trip plan. You see mine's blank, but I do have some plans because I have a friend that we tend to do a lot of things with. So we're still working out our plans for the year. And once we do, I'll start making notes of that. And then it gets really into, oh, there you go. There's some of my meal plans. So you can see I do use the meal plan list here. I will show you maybe in August. Let me just go to August because we haven't really used August. And I'll just give you kind of a blank go through. So August, the first thing that is the August goals and checklist. And then it gets into your month at a glance. And you can see I already have some things like when my son is doing baseball and when my daughter's doing ballet. So I had to fill out our calendar for August. But then here's the schedule for the student schedule, which this sheet right here is what I will highlight more in our weekly plan with me, because I do have my first couple weeks. And so this is what my kind of spreads tend to look like. And I'll go through how I fill it all out and things like that then, but I really love it. It is exactly what I need as a place to just run my day. That's how I look at these pages. It helps me be like, what was the independent thing my daughter needs to do on Thursdays? Oh, right, she's planning on doing typing and my kids are all doing handwriting together, whatever it is. It's just like when I forget, it just allows me not to have to keep all that in my brain. I'm able to just keep it on paper. And every month has, I think, 5 of these spreads, just in case you have an extra week, which sometimes that happens. And then it ends with this weekly plan sheet. And what I have, I actually have this printed off, which I will show you in my schedule video, which is coming up as well, where I was able to schedule. You can see this is Monday through Friday and Saturday and Sunday, and then the time down the side. This is where I did a rough sketch of our week, because not every day is the same. So I really do like having this. I'm probably not gonna fill it out on the weekly because once we set a schedule, we tend to stick with it. But I like that they're in every month in case it changes. So say something is different, like ballet, for instance, or it's different things, that I can make a new kind of weekly plan. So those are always available. And then you have the meal plan, shopping list, 2 of those, and then you have the around the house as well as chores. And then this is the review section I was telling you about. So that gets through the planner. So you can see at the beginning of my working binder, only this much is the planner. Like I keep 2 months of my planner in here. And then I keep, right now I have week 1 through 5 of the different Sonlight programs I'm going through. I have all my maps in here because this is the thing that travels with me all day. So as I'm going out back to work with my kids and start reading some things, I will always have what we need, and that way I'm like, oh, there's a map for that day. Let me go to the HBLC map and we'll pull it out. So I have it with me. And so you can see I have all of my week 1 through 5, and I do write on my instructor guides and make notes all over them as to how I use them. And then because I have to have these, because I want to have the extra notes as to what we talk about, even though I do go through these on Sundays, which I've talked about. And then I have the science. And in this case, I do have the diamond notes because I'm also using Language Arts Level 3 with my daughter. And so we're starting diamond notes, which I just did a video highlighting a week in our homeschool of the Sonlight Language Arts. And so anyway, but then it goes on to week 2. And this first chunk I have is HBLC and Science C. So that's my big kids. And then the second chunk is HBLK and Science K for my kindergartners. And so that's how I'm able to really keep everything in one place. Very straightforward, just what I need. And this is really my working binder, and this is how the planner fits really right in there, and it's exactly what I need. And I realize I've said that probably 100 times, but I'm so thankful for that. It really helps streamline my homeschool. Okay, so that's what I have. I hope you found the video useful. I hope you see that it just really worked for me, and I hope it could potentially work for you. Let me know down below if you're curious about it or have any questions. And otherwise, give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe to the channel if you want to, and I'll see you guys in the next homeschool video. All right, take care. Bye.